Scanning for audio.
Welcome to a Tin Dog Podcast. Here's an important lesson in life. If you're ever recording a podcast, make sure the batteries are actually full. Because what you could do is talk for at least 10 minutes and then check and see that the whole thing just switched itself off. And then you realise it's just easier to start again and record the whole thing using those nice emergency batteries that you keep in the corner. Right. I am about to repeat myself, but VAM PD or VAM PD, VAMPT, some people will be going for Volume 1, VAM PD, released October 2024, actually released on Halloween because that's, fitting, written by James Goss, starring Juliet Lando and Mara Wilson. Okay, let's do this. It's a box set. It's part of Bigfinish Originals. Now, it's brilliant that Bigfinish are doing their own little series. That just sounds really patronising and condescending. It's brilliant that they're doing their own series that is based on their own product. Because it's nice for us, to experience something that's written by people who write for Bigfinish, therefore the best writers doing audio, showing us what they can do where they're not, well, I don't use the word constrained, but locked into other people's property. Because, let's face it, all the Bigfinish Doctor Who stories have to fit in somewhere with the agreed upon reality. The Doctor isn't going to die, none of the companions are going to die. Regardless of how bad the situation is, it's always going to be resolved because, well, that's where we're going. But with an original, you don't have to do that. You can put your characters through stuff and take them on journeys that don't have to fit in with somebody else's narrative. It's enormously freeing. So what have we got? We've got Vampire Police. That's it. That's your one-line pitch. And you know what? Works for me. But best of all, what we've got is Juliet Landau doing James Goss's words. You've got 3 stories in this first set, and they were recorded kind of, remotely in that way that some people often do, in order to allow you to have a bigger cast. You've got 3 stories in this first set. Now, as always, the first story's got a lot of heavy lifting to do. You've got to introduce the characters, you've got to introduce the world, and you've got to have a narrative going on. And because of that, arguably, it could be the weakest of the 3. Which is me being harsh, because, that's the weakest of 3 particularly good and strong stories. My only real issue, well, I'll come back to that in the end, because I need to start off by saying thoroughly enjoyed it, absolutely want more, and you just can't beat this combination. You've got 3 stories: Party All Night, Blood Bank, and Under the Sun. Vampires live their lives by rules, but who polices them? Welcome to the office of the night, where vampire Catrin and Magnus keep an uneasy peace between the living and the undead. See, it works. It's just a nice thing. They've got you with that pitch line. Story number 1, Party All Night. The Vampire Circuit Parties. Someone sets up a series of tasting clubs at which vampires massacre unsuspecting human invitees. Magnus and Catrin must stop this before the craze goes viral. It's Jane's first day as the human liaison to the office of the night, and it may well be her last. Like I said, there's a lot of heavy lifting to do in this very first episode, and it is managed. But my issue, I I feel awful saying this, I really do. I love Juliet Landau, right? She is an absolutely brilliant convention guest. I was a huge Buffy fan. Should I use the words back in the day? I can't do that. At the time that Buffy was being broadcast, I was really, really into Buffy fandom and Angel fandom, and I would attend the Blackpool conventions. Did any of you go to those? Anyway, I was the guy who did the Smile Time Angel, well, nobody even used the word cosplay at the time. It was the fancy dress parade or costume contest or whatever it was. And I was Smile Time Angel 2 weeks after the episode of Smile Time Angel went broadcast. And then the year after, I was just one of the other millions of lawns. But that's not important. Before that, I would just attend as an ordinary human being. Big Buffy fan, used to go to conventions, huge fan of Juliet Landau. Let's face it, she is sci-fi royalty. Her parents, well, if you don't know who her parents are, just look it up. She played Drusilla, who was my favourite character in the whole series. So I've got a lot of time for her, and I've got a lot of time for her performance, and she's a great con guest. She's just nice. I have an issue with the voice she's chosen for the central character. Yes, we don't know where this is set. Is it New York? It's got a New York feel. Is it London? It's got a London-y feel. But then it becomes a procedural, and you end up being trapped in a world of, well, you know, Rivers of London, where you've got very precise procedural police drama-y stuff. Keeping it vague allows it to be in its own universe. And that works. It does work. But it is implied that you've got the older vampires, and it kind of works from a thematic point of view to have the older vampires being more European. And I liked the idea of Juliet playing a character who was further away from Drusilla, who didn't have the kind of Englishy type accent, because Juliet can do some great voices, and her own voice, her own accent, it works. And I was looking forward to that kind of thing. But what we've got is a European, possibly English, possibly French, descended vampire who isn't Drusilla by any stretch of the imagination. There's a completely different performance going on. And if you're here for the Drusilla, stay for the Juliet performance, because it works. I just personally would have preferred her to be doing kind of her own voice, or putting in a performance as something, a vampire who is slightly more American. I don't know. But that's it. That's my own little gripe, my own little niggle, because I absolutely adored this box set. Juliet's performance is brilliant. Everyone's performance is brilliant in this. I've got no problems. The idea of the police department that polices the vampires is great. And also you've got the mythology of the vampires. Everyone knows, can you enter? You need to be invited. But is that real? How would that even work? They've got technology, because let's face it, we've seen videos and films over the years where vampires do show up on film. They don't show up on film. They do show up on video. They don't have a reflection. Sometimes they do. All of those things have to be locked into place for a vampire universe. And it's a lot harder to make those work. You have to come up with some sort of pseudoscience reasons for it to work. And that's just nice. Also, vampire society has to function as an actual society. There's a lot of background work. There's a lot of stuff going to have to fit together in order for this to work, and it does. There's a lot of thought processes gone into this that you just won't see, because all you're doing is enjoying the stories. And there's 3 of them. The second story is The Blood Bank. Now, this one's also got John Coulson playing someone who really belongs with that voice in Dune. You can imagine how absolutely bloated and fat and rotund this character is. Almost Jabba-like, but still human. Works beautifully. Here's the synopsis. Some vampires choose not to kill for blood. They prefer to have it supplied. It's a lifestyle choice. There's a thriving red market in liquid gold. But the vampires running the red market are worried. Something's contaminating the blood. A contaminant that for some is a drug and for others is lethal. If the red market fails, then their customers are suddenly going to get very hungry. It's a beautifully constructed storyline, and there's a torture scene in it that just works so well. This is the point where you start really investing in the characters. You kind of like them in the first story, but by the time the second story comes, you're like, yep, I get it. You're this, and you are going to do this, and it works. Yes, there are other storylines running along, but that's part of the beauty of the box sets. And finally, you have Under the Sun. A vampire cult has sprung up, allowing vampires the ultimate cure, the ability to walk in the sun. Catrin and Magnus are worried. As a cult, is the cult a trick, or will it change the way that vampires feed, unleashing terror on the world? It's just great. Oh, here's the best bit. Here's the best bit of the synopsis on the Bigfinish website. Note, this production features scenes of vampiric feeding and blood consumption. You think? Vampire film? Possibly having some vampires in it? Yeah, sorry, I don't know why I made that noise, and I do apologise. Look, it's a great box set. It really is. It's nicely constructed. It's lovely put together. And you know that it's going to go from strength to strength. And yesterday it was announced that there's going to be even more. I know it said Volume 1 in the box, but you can never really count on this sort of thing. I want more of this. It's great. I'm a bit gutted about the removal of the Space 1999 series from the range. But you know what? If people aren't buying it, it's just, a financial decision. Please don't take UFO away from us, though. That was the highlight. Oh, God, yeah. That's beside the point. I need to talk about this. As long as I've got my Torchwood and I've got more great drama coming out from Bigfinish, I'm a very happy bunny. And this is the beginning of something special. Here's the trailer and decide for yourself. Until next time, be seeing you.
From Bigfinish Productions.
VAM PD.
Did you say you were the police?
Officer of the Night. Vampire police, my dear. You've been naughty vampires.
We investigate vampires who break the rules.
The rules.
The rules.
Put that girl down. Apart from anything else, she's bleeding all over your shirt. And linen.
That stain will never come out.
Thank you.
Don't mention it, my dear. Go and cower with the others in the corner.
When I applied for the assignment, I assumed you were policing vampire behavior. I didn't realize you would also be...
Killing humans?
Why else do we have a human liaison? It's part of your job to tidy that bit up.
Is this the new liaison? Do you still name them?
My name is...
Janet.
Jane, actually.
Jane, dear. Shh. Don't speak.
How long do people last in my job?
Liaisons tend not to be a long-lasting role.
I'd so hoped you'd last a week. Maybe a month. You should have asked that before they offered you it.
I trust you, and I think you feel you can trust me.
Come, Magnus. We have immortal laws to protect. And we're running low on cat litter.
Bigfinish, for the love of stories.
That was the Doctor Who Tin Dog Podcast, available on iTunes, YouTube, Twitter, RSS, Vimeo, and across the internet. Doctor Who and its associated properties are all copyright and trademark of the BBC. No infringement is intended. Why not become a supporter by visiting patreon.com/tindog. Contact the show on tin-dog@hotmail.co.uk. The Tin Dog Podcast is a founder member of the Doctor Who Podcast Alliance.